Today, we are joined by Liana Desmarais, owner and president of Plantscape Windsor, a second-generation family business serving our region since 1976. Liana has led the company into a new era of growth while also serving as president of the Landscape Ontario Windsor chapter. She's passionate about developing people, elevating careers in the trades, and building a strong, collaborative landscaping community here in Windsor, Essex.
I felt very alone for the first couple of years at the helm. You know, I wasn't an open book manager at the time, right? So I didn't know how to go and tell my team, like, struggling with making this decision. So, like, let's all come together here. I didn't have that in me. I thought I had the numbers right. I really did. And maybe I would have had the other two pieces not fallen apart.
Right.
Why am I chasing after these jobs? Like, if my staff love doing these jobs and my clients love when we do them, I looked back on all my Google reviews. My Google reviews are all projects we did under $25,000.
Right.
It's like, well, I got happy clients, happy staff, I'm making money. Why am I chasing this big fish?
Welcome back to Cracking the Success Vault here with Spectre Financial. We're joined by Liana Desmarais. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
I'm super excited to have this conversation. I love the fact that you're a second generation business. I love the fact that you took over a business from your father, which is fantastic. But let's start off with sort of kind of where you grew up, how you were raised. I know we just talked a little bit about that in a funny context. But just kind of like walk us through a little bit, kind of how you got to where you are today.
I grew up primarily out in the Maidstone, Essex area. That's 1984. My dad purchased 8 acres out on County Road 46. There's probably some people out there that might remember buying Christmas trees from him back in the day, back before there was, I think, Sloan's was big on the cut your own. So yeah, I was always involved with my dad's business. The business was kind of on the far 4 acres, and then we had a house with a pool and stuff on the other side. Just my sister and I and my mom and dad. And I remember one summer, after a few weeks of summer break, I, believe it or not, got tired of swimming in the pool. So I wandered my way over to my dad's shop, and he wasn't there. His secretary was there, and I just swept the floor. And I don't know what compelled me to do that. I was just maybe bored. And when he came back from a quotation, he was thrilled that I had done that, and he gave me $5. And I remember holding that $5 bill in my hand being like, well, this was cool. Like, nobody asked me to do this, and I didn't ask for money. I was just bored and thought I would do something nice to help out. I think that kind of spurred something in me, because I've always kind of been that, from that point on, just looking for ways to help, right? Ways that I can make a difference. So from there, I started typing out invoices in his office, helping out his secretary, and we'd file them. And back then he had an actual typewriter with like carbon invoices that I had to rip into 3, and one went to the client, and one went to the accountant, and one kept in the client file. It was kind of fun that way. After that, I learned a little bit about plants, just watering things in his greenhouse. And I probably share the one story that, I don't know if it's trauma or a funny story, but the property is still our client to this day. It was the McDonald's on Huron Church. One summer, I got put on the maintenance crew, and they had these gigantic 30-foot pine trees in these container planters. And my job that day was to plant little tiny plugs of annuals underneath this tree, because I was deemed to be the smallest person that could climb underneath this tree to plant these things. So I don't know, I have a love-hate relationship still with green ivy that I had to plant that day. But I've always kind of been involved in the business. My dad was a great mentor to me, guided me along the way, loved numbers and loved money. So when I graduated high school, he kind of suggested I go to business school. So I went to the University of Windsor, graduated from finance at the Odette School of Business. And from there, I was in the co-op program, so I'd done a couple co-op terms with Investors Group. after I graduated, I picked a bank and went and worked at RBC for 12 years. There wasn't really a plan for me to take over the business.
Yeah.
My dad and I always talked business, but it was more just conversational and a common interest more than it was a future plan. When my dad was 64 years old, he came to me and he said, I think I want to start a truck company, dump truck company. And I thought, well, what the heck do you want to do that for? And he goes, well, I see all these dump trucks going up and down the highway because the Gordie Howe Bridge and that Herb Gray Parkway is going in. I thought, okay. He goes, can you come over one night after work and I want to crunch some numbers with you. I came over, I crunched some numbers with him and showed him different ways that, you know, I thought maybe some break-even numbers and some best case, worst case scenario numbers. And he went out and bought a bunch of dump trucks and started a trucking company at 64. So when I tell you there was no plan, I wholeheartedly tell you there was absolutely no plan. I honestly thought my dad would be 85 years old, chasing guys around in a pickup truck and pass away with a shovel in his hand. He's just an entrepreneur and nothing was going to stop him. And then he was 67 and we were just sitting there at Christmas one year. And my kids are running around and everyone's having a great time. And he said, okay, all right, kid, I need you to quit your job and come run the companies. What are you talking about?
Weird request at Christmas time.
Where are we going with this? He goes, I just decided I don't want to do the day-to-day anymore, and you're the only one I trust that'll do it like me. And I thought, well, I love what I do at the bank. Right. I don't know, how do you say no to your dad? But so I went to my boss at RBC and I said, I don't know what to do. And she was a great mentor to me and still a friend. And she, her parents had a business as well. She thought very highly of me, and she thought, well, let's not, make too many rash decisions here. So, let's think about this one, and what can we do? And she said, do you think your dad would be willing to sell the business? I don't know. So she came to me after a few days, and she goes, all right, I want you to talk to your dad about selling the businesses. Because what I've done is she got me a 1-year unpaid sabbatical. She goes, you have to give up your position, but you'll still be staff. And we'll use that 1 year. You go manage your dad's business for him. We're going to use that 1 year to try and package these businesses up and sell them. And then after a year, you can come back. We'll find you a spot. It might not be exactly where you are now, but we'll find you a spot. And I cried and thanked her, and I went and told my dad, and he thought, well, that's great. So now I'm in the business, pulling balance statements and financials and kind of digging through and trying to figure out, what the exit strategy was going to be for my dad. We were meeting with some people at private banking at RBC. And I'll never forget his name. His name was Mark Skeegs. I don't think he works for RBC anymore. Still friends with him. One day we were sitting there. They had done all the analysis. And they sat there and they said, Mr. Desmarais, you have a beautiful business. It's 40 years old. You have a brand. There isn't a lot proprietary about your business. So we can sell this. We valued it, and we can take it to market. But what we need you to understand is it is going to be somebody local, likely from Windsor, that'll buy it. So we need you to think this one through, because over the meetings, we've gotten to know you, and we've kind of come to understand that these businesses are more than just a business to you. So if we sell them, you need to know when you go to Remark Farms or the grocery store and you see a Plantscape truck, or you drive by a neighborhood and you see a sign that says job done by Plantscape, it's not going to be yours anymore. So Mr. Desmarais, you can't go and look in the truck, see if it's clean anymore. You can't go walking on the job site to see if they did it the way you like them to do it. So you have to kind of connect that piece. My dad didn't answer the question right away. He just kind of sat there and took it all in. And he goes, how much can you sell this business for? I want to know the numbers.
Right.
So then we went over the numbers. But it was maybe a week or so later, he called me into his kitchen. And he said, listen, kid, I know you want to go back to your job at the bank. But I thought about it, and I can't sell.
Yeah.
And I said, was it the money? And he goes, no. He goes, I can't sell for any dollar amount. If you don't want to do it, I'll keep doing it.
Right.
But
interesting.
I can't sell. I said, how about this? I said, I've been here almost a year. I'm having a little bit of fun. my dad had kind of coasted for probably I'll say 5 years before I'd gotten there. So there was lots of opportunity for me to make some very small changes that could make a big difference.
Right.
And so he said, yeah, I trust you implicitly. He goes, if you want to make changes, it's all yours. Yeah. He goes, if you're going to be here, I said, I want, at the time I was 38. I said, I don't want to coast. I want to challenge. I want to be able to grow it. So he goes, yeah. He goes, I'll back you no matter what you want to do.
What was going through your mind leaving your job for, a year, what you thought was going to be a year?
Yeah.
Obviously you weren't just going to, walk away from income. Obviously you're it's not walking away from one career, starting from zero.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad probably paid you in something, but going from the banking employee world, this is my day to day, to, I've been working in the business and I've seen my dad do things, but this is a totally different thing. So what kind of things were going through your head in making that transition for that 1 year that ended up now being 10?
So there's a few pivotal moments that I'll say, and I absolutely loved my time at the bank. There's a lot of red tape in the bank, right? And
yeah, I don't doubt it.
And I remember this one moment where, and it was at the very beginning. I think it was the first week. I got there. I said, okay, what do you want me to focus on? My dad said, marketing. I said, okay. What do you want me to do? He goes, well, you got to call this guy and you got to call this guy and you got to meet with them and you got to come up with like the marketing campaign for the year. And I said, okay, what's the budget? And he goes, what do you mean budget? I go, well, what's the marketing budget? And he goes, I don't have a marketing budget. What do you mean you don't have a marketing budget? At the bank, you don't spend 5 cents of anyone's money without 9 different approvals. And even then, you're probably not going to get to spend it. Yeah. Certainly not at the level I was at. He goes, I don't know. I sit down with them and they bring me a proposal and I just decide if that's what I want to do. And I thought,
like most entrepreneurs.
I thought, oh my God, this is crazy. I said, well, what's the message? I don't know. I thought, oh my God, that's
their job to come up with the message and tell me what.
He was just kind of flying by the seat of his pants. So then I started kind of meeting with some of like the project manager, estimator, and I said, I was asking questions and more just because I was coming from a different industry. So I think I thought of myself in the beginning that I was going to go do sales. Because when I worked at the bank for about 7 of those 12 years, I was in like account management. So I knew I was good with clients. So I thought, if I could understand sales and maybe understand plants and the process of an installation, I'm a likable enough person, I could probably sell a job or two, right? So I started asking questions and there was no rhyme or reason to really anything. And I don't want to say this as a slight against my dad, but the fact that he made it to 40 years, I think was a bit of an accident. In those times, I think you could start a business that way.
I think
in 1976, back then, everyone started a business.
Yeah, so. I agree. But at the same time, it's funny you say that because I think even nowadays, even if you're the worst salesperson, if you just go to work, you are going to fall into business no matter what. Yeah. Right. I think a lot of that generation just going to go to work.
Yeah, that's what he did every day. He just
talk
went
to people
work.
and go to work.
Sell jobs.
Right.
He never job costed anything. He didn't know how to price anything. So
sometimes underwater, sometimes made money, but
and didn't know.
Right.
Right. Just at the end of the year, the bills were paid, and he had a small salary and enough money in the bank to have Christmas, kind of thing. Right.
And so then let's go back a little bit farther. Do you know how your dad, or not how, but why your dad started the business in the first place?
Yeah, he had many businesses before Plantscape that failed.
Okay, so what kind of businesses failed then?
So he had a leather store up in Collingwood. He had a picnic table business he talks about, and it was on somewhere near Jefferson. He always, when he tells the story, he says the expressway goes right through it. He said he even sold pigeon poop at one point. He said all of his businesses were like these accidents that happened to him. He said he rented a house in a farm field where EC Row and Jefferson is now, And we got to go back to like 1965 at this point,
Mm-hmm.
because he started Plantscape in 76. And he said he rented this house and he made a picnic table for him and his buddies to
Sit on and
sit
hang out.
around and hang out. And people were stopping and asking how much to buy the picnic table. So
Weird.
he got him and his buddies on a weekend and they made like 50 picnic tables. And they stacked them up at the road and he sold picnic tables.
Wow.
And then it just blossomed from there. Well, I don't know if you can really make a business out of picnic tables. So eventually I think the market got a little bit saturated. And then he turns the story into somebody came because they heard about the picnic tables. And when they were there, they said, well, can I buy some of the pigeon poop? And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And he goes, well, I used to buy pigeon poop from the guy that lived here before. It's up in your barn.
Okay, weird.
And my dad goes, well, I rent the house and the barn, so I guess the pigeon poop's mine. So he started to go up to the barn
Have at it.
and bag pigeon poop and sell pigeon poop.
Weird.
So my dad has maintained to this day, he started a business because he knew he was unemployable.
Yeah.
My dad's not the kind of guy that you can tell what to do.
Right.
So everything's his idea, his way or the highway kind of mentality.
Mhm.
That old French Canadian, that's just who he is.
Yeah.
So he was just unemployable. So I always say he bought himself a job.
Yeah.
Basically, he just
Yeah,
to
and
work
that's what,
every day.
and that's what most self-employed people do in the beginning is they
Yeah.
buy themselves a job. You might be working 12 and 15-hour days and you're only getting paid as if you're,
Yeah.
working 8-hour days, right? But
You're not working for somebody
but you're not working
else.
for somebody else. And
Yeah.
I've always been that way, coming from a competitive sports background. I always had a goal. I was always trying to chase that goal, and I couldn't let somebody tell me what to do. I
Yeah.
always had these dreams of what could life look like, and it didn't matter if I had to live in my car or like rent just a room from a friend. Like if keep expenses low, it didn't matter. I was never working for somebody
Yeah,
else ever.
that was 100% my dad. And I think I saw the struggle that him and my mom had growing up. My mom was a school teacher, and I saw many years, growing up, and he owned Plantscape. The ebbs and flows of the recessions that would hit, and lots of times they had to rely on my mom's income. I think that's why, for the most part, after school, I kind of went the bank route. It was safe. It was a nice salary. It had a pension, had benefits. And it provided me with a security that maybe I didn't feel back then.
Right.
So making the leap to the business was a big one. That was a big decision I had to make. Because at the time, my husband was also self-employed. So now we were both going to be, so that security that I wanted.
Now there was no security on either side, and both people are having to grind day to day.
We had 2-year-old twins and a 5-year-old daughter at the time.
Okay.
We had rental properties and a few other things. So it was a big switch on how we were going to make this work. But I mean, my dad had lots of reassurance too. He's like, business is turnkey. We've been here 40 years. We've survived recessions and upticks and downticks and everything in between. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit then about Plantscape. What are all the offerings? I've heard a little bit from chamber events and I've heard a little bit about other things, but what exactly does Plantscape do?
So we, I guess my elevator speech is we are a full-serve design build landscaping company. We do indoor and outdoor landscape services.
Okay.
So we started in 1976 as an indoor tropical plant service provider. We still do that to this day. Green walls, horticultural therapy. We do residential and commercial outdoor landscaping, custom planters, Christmas lights, and snow removal.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
if it's at all related to landscaping,
Right.
Indoor or outdoor, we do it.
Let's go back to then the first year that you're with the business. So you're now meeting with
just learning the pricing,
trying to figure
pricing, that out. There was no pricing structure.
marketing, etc.
There was no budgets, no nothing. I'm a numbers girl. I'm a financial analyst. If it fits in a spreadsheet, that's my language. I can understand it. Now my staff understand it. It took me a couple years to kind of get them there.
Yeah.
But so I put a pricing structure together. I put budgets around variable costs such as marketing and accounting and all of those other pieces. Everything was accounted for in a job. So fuel, insurance, all of those pieces were accounted for.
I've talked to many people on the podcast about knowing your numbers of your business, and it's a super important thing, whether you're running restaurants, landscaping, I mean, sales, it doesn't matter. So once you have this Excel document, price sheet all figured out, did you see just a straight upward trajectory then, actually knowing what was going on in the business then?
Yeah. It gave me the confidence to be able to make the decisions. It also gave I now have a sales team, not just a salesperson, but it gave them the confidence to know that if we fall within this pricing structure, we'll make money.
We can do the job and we'll make money.
We can do the job and we'll make money.
Right.
So if we make money, I had lots of team meetings along the way. It's like, well, if the company makes money, then the company can go buy this piece of equipment that's going to make the job, that much easier on everybody's, knees and backs and all of those things. Right. So it just changed the whole thing.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about when you took over to where you are now. Not in terms of revenue, but in terms of sales staff, in terms of admin staff. How much has the company grown in the last 10 years since you took it over?
So by the end of this fiscal year, we will almost have quadrupled.
Wow.
So, yeah.
4 times the size
4 times
in
the
10
size,
years.
Yeah, in 10 years.
Wow. And is that because that's a big number?
Yeah.
Is that because of knowing your numbers? Is it because of, do you think you attribute it to the culture that you've created? Is it because you're just going out there and doing more marketing, more sales, talking to more people, doing things like chamber events, et cetera? Like, what made you quadruple in 10 years? Obviously, it's a multitude of things. I completely understand that. It's not just one decision. But what would you say the biggest 3 decisions are, let's say? Let's try to narrow it down to 3.
So the first 3. So the first one was the numbers, right? Because that gave me kind of the confidence and the cash flow needed to buy the extra equipment and to feel confident.
Hire staff, et cetera.
Stuff like that. So I probably spent the first 3 years making sense of the numbers. And while I was making sense of the numbers, I made a lot of mistakes in the HR world. So I learned a lot in those 3 years.
Okay.
I spent the next 5 focused solely on HR.
Okay.
HR and training is what I'll say. It's now kind of become a bit of a passion for me. I just believe that this is an industry that is easy to enter. Any guy with a pickup truck and a lawnmower can become a landscaper. So the skill set required to do a full front and backyard with, equipment and boulders and the right plant selection, it really is a skill. So I spent a lot of time building a culture that I think is still a bit of a work in progress, but thriving at this point. I had to take, maybe a couple blows to my own ego because I thought I was doing it right. And then I did some round tables with some staff and they said, no, we need more. We want this, we want that. And those things weren't innately natural for me.
Sure.
I'm a less of the pat on the back boss than I probably needed to be. So now I have a great team around me that once in a while get a nudge. We got to pat them on the back here. So we got to do a barbecue. And honestly, my admin team makes me look like a superstar. Hopefully my staff watch this and know that it's not all just me writing those cards out. But yeah, there's just ways that we put things in place. So I get an email now every time, first thing in the morning at 7 in the morning, if it's one of my staff members' birthdays, so that I can personally send them a message.
Right.
Happy
and
birthday.
that's some systems and process stuff that you have has to be there, right? Because you're not going to remember them all.
Yeah, right. And so as I was growing, and that's why I say it was like a little bit of, some lessons learned where it's like, I didn't think my guys wanted me to acknowledge their birthday.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that kind of ran across. So yeah, we did some roundtables and and everyone's a little bit different, right? I did have a couple people saying like, no, like it would publicly embarrass me if you acknowledged me in a group setting that I did a great job. So I know who those people are now. So those folks get kind of just pulled into my office for the attaboy, just one-on-one rather than in a group fashion. So it's just understanding who your team is, because they go out there, they work so hard, and they do it for what I still think is my family's business and the legacy of my family. I'm forever grateful for all the work that they do. So
Okay, and so for the first 3 years, numbers. Next 5 years,
it was all
HR.
people.
What's the last 2 years been?
Scaling up. So the last 2 years, I did a little bit of work with the BDC, and I did a strategic plan, and I involved my team in that. So I actually brought them in, and I said, okay, I want to scale up, but you guys are more important to me than scaling up. So I want to do it the right way. So again, a couple lessons there where, so I sit on the provincial board for Landscape Ontario. I'm the local president for the Landscape Ontario Windsor chapter. I think any landscaper that watches this knows that we probably all want those big, beautiful backyard award winners, $300,000 on the water kind of projects, right? Those are the showcase pieces, right? That's what you chase. That's what you want. It's like, how many of those do we have to do this year, right?
Yeah. It's like selling the big penthouse in New York City.
Yeah,
that's the thing that everybody wants.
That's what everybody wants, right? Who cares about the little tiny apartment building kind of thing, right? But when I met with my staff and I asked them these questions, and these questions, I'll be honest, I didn't even know where it was going to take me in the moment. But I asked them each, and I had 5 of them in front of me. I said, I want you to tell me about your 3 favorite projects that you did this year. And I want you to tell me about your 3 least favorite projects. And it was an eye-opener for me, because what they shared with me was they loved doing the smaller jobs. They loved it.
Why?
Because
interaction with people?
Yeah, the interactions with the people. Maybe the person that they saved up $5,000 or $6,000 for that front yard, they're just a little bit more grateful.
Yeah, super excited to finally get that thing done.
Super excited to have that low maintenance front yard done.
See that.
They come out, they make my guys sandwiches and give them bottles of water. They got a cooler there. They're interacting with them. They want to know the plants. They want to know how to take care of them. There's just that they're like, that's where we think we make the difference. When we do these big backyard projects and the homeowner's not even there, we're there for 8 weeks and it just becomes monotonous and we don't think we're, making that big of an impact.
Right.
And I think people want to do what makes them feel good.
100%.
So we made a shift after that. I just thought, why am I chasing after these jobs? Like if my staff love doing these jobs and my clients love when we do them. I looked back on all my Google reviews. My Google reviews are all projects we did under $25,000.
Right.
It's like, well, I got happy clients, happy staff. I'm making money. Why am I chasing this big fish?
Right. That's an interesting perspective that I don't think a lot of people would actually pull their staff in and have round table about that kind of thing.
I wanted to know what they want to do, right? I mean, ultimately it is my family's business, but you got to go to work every day. I want you to love what you do.
Right. And I think a lot of people want to give back. They want to feel like what they're doing actually matters. And I think it can be very difficult for some people because there are a lot of careers out there where maybe people aren't in the right career. They're not where they want to be.
Yeah.
But they are afraid of making that leap to doing something that they actually care about. And I would tell people that, they really should take that leap, because if you're doing something you actually care about and you're doing something that makes you feel good and kind of stirs your soul up a little bit, it doesn't feel like work and you'll be way more successful at it 100%. Than doing something that you dread every day.
When I asked those questions, though, I honestly thought they were going to tell me they wanted the glitzy, the glamorous, the big jobs. And what came out was the opposite. So, we kind of changed the course a little bit. And we still do large jobs. We still do a lot of commercial projects. we're doing the big Highway 3 project with GIP.
Oh,
It'll
nice.
be our biggest project in company history. We're proud to do it. But we love helping out grandma in
Right.
her front yard. And you can see the difference in the team when they come back to the yard at the end of the day.
Right. That's awesome. And so you mentioned earlier some of the mistakes that you made. HR. I think that's a thing most entrepreneurs have a problem with. I know for myself, I find it very difficult to train somebody. I find it very difficult to share that knowledge, whether it's that because someone's not as passionate about it, or maybe I expect too much from them because I've been doing it for so long now that it's like it's easy. Just pick up the phone and make a phone call, and it's easy to me. To me, it's just like a reflex now, right? But early on in my business, if I actually think back, it wasn't a reflex. I had to really struggle to like, okay, today I'm going to make 10 calls, and hopefully I get someone on the phone, and maybe I'll make some cold calls, which is out of my comfort zone or anything like that. But it was a struggle in the beginning, and now it's not. So what were some of those mistakes that you made that maybe other entrepreneurs that wanting to scale their business, could learn from and not make?
As a member of Landscape Ontario, I had a friend of mine, Lorianne Stewart. She told me one thing once. She's now retired from it. She sold her business and is retired. And I don't know if she picked up on something I said or did, but she told me, she goes, if you slow down, kid, you'll go faster. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, that's weird. I don't even know how that makes sense. But it resonated with me. And then another person once told me to hire slow and fire fast. That one's hard to do.
Yes.
I still struggle with that one a lot because I bring people into the fold. I consider them to be family, and I do genuinely care about them. So when I see a staff member struggling, it's sometimes hard for me to cut the ties. Yep. So that'll be one mistake that I've definitely made, and I'm not sure I could say I won't make it again. But
right, I mean, those things are not
those
easy
come with
to
the
do
territory.
Regardless. Yeah.
Funny story though, when I did take over from my dad, his hiring practice was if they showed up for the job interview, they got the job, and he would throw them a blue Plantscape shirt, and if they caught the shirt, they were a crew leader. And I thought,
all right, cool. Wow, Dad.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that year I found out that if you had more than 100 T4s in your company, you had to submit them electronically. And we had always done paper T4s before. And I had gone through so many staff that first year based on throwing a T-shirt. I knew the system was broken at that point.
Right.
So I got involved with Landscape Ontario at that point, and went and got some training for myself because I thought, if I don't know how to plant something, or if I don't know how to do it, how am I to ask a question, or even in an interview ask the question so I know and can validate that they know how to do this. So it took some stepping back there on my part to kind of understand the business a little bit more so I can make better decisions.
I like how you said if you slow down, you'll go faster. Because thinking back, and it just came to me, thinking back on my competitive swim career, it's very similar. If you're in the water just trying to hack away and try really, 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 really hard to go fast, if you actually just relax, take big, long strides in the pool, you'll actually go way faster. Because you don't have to put in this crazy amount of energy. You just have to put the energy in the right spot. Right? I love the fact that you said that.
Yeah, and I think for me, I ended up allocating it more to like being 40 years in business at the time of when I took over. It was like, this isn't a sprint, right? I made the decision to leave my career at the bank. This wasn't a 100-meter dash anymore, like that first year was supposed to be.
Right.
Now we're running a marathon now. So, to your point, you got to breathe and go a little bit slower so that you can finish the race.
Yeah, and I like that point too, because I don't know if you've read any books by Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
But his Infinite Game, I love that. It's so many people think that business or life or their marriage or whatever is it's like a baseball game or a football game. There's a start, there's a middle, and an end. But these things don't have those things, right? Life is not like that. Business is not like that. It goes forever until you want it to stop, right? And then you can either sell it or retire or whatever, right? So, so many people think that they have to come out of the gates, they have to go, and all of a sudden they're going to be successful. And there's so many lessons to learn along the way that if they just slowed down, did it the right way, realized they're running a marathon, paced themselves, learn the skills necessary, they would probably be a lot more successful than they are. But they just want to jump in and just go, balls to the walls.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Okay. So are your, so you have three children?
Yeah, I have 3 daughters.
Are any of them involved in the business now?
No, they're still a little bit on the young side. I'm not sure I'll get them there, but
Not sweeping the floors yet?
they're not sweeping the floors.
No?
No, they,
Okay.
yeah, not quite there.
Are they showing interest in the business?
I'll say Jenna, who's the oldest of the twins, is showing an interest in money.
Okay.
Less in necessarily business.
Sure.
So we'll see. But she's got some pride in the Plantscape brand. She loves, if we're driving around and she sees a billboard or a bench ad or something, she's always kind of pointing that out. She loves going to job sites with me in the summertime. I'll once in a while I'll bring the girls in the car. And on a really hot day, we'll bring freezies. We'll go job site to job site, and they love being able to walk up to the guys and what color do you want? And they cut the freezie, and the guys get to take a little bit of a break and cool off. So they do like those pieces there.
Yeah.
My oldest has an entrepreneur spirit to her, but I think she's just in that teenage spirit of mom's wrong and I'm right. So
Sure.
I think there might be an opportunity there for her because she definitely, she's in grade 10 at Villanova, and she's taking some business classes and says one day she wants to own a business.
Okay.
Strong in science, so she's still thinking something along the lines of a dentist or an optometrist or something, but wants to own her own practice. Is always talking about I'm going to have to own my own. Whatever I have, I'm going to have to own my own.
Yeah.
So there might be an opportunity there for her.
Yeah.
But I don't want to push it. So
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I've got a long time for that. My son is 7 months next.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's got a long
Yeah,
time.
you got a long
I have
time.
a long time to decide any of that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Okay, so what kind of things are next for Plantscape then?
All right. Well, right now I am working on something that I hope is transformative to the industry. Part of what I did at the bank was I loved training new account managers. So it was one of the things that I think I can confidently say I was good at. And in all of those lessons in HR, I learned that there is a huge opportunity within our industry to better the training. And I'm hoping that by spring I have a more formal announcement. But my long-term plan is to build a training facility for Southwestern Ontario for landscape and horticulture.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very unique.
Yeah.
And so it's just going to be a big building where people can come and learn about horticulture and plants and landscaping in general?
Yeah,
or?
there's going to be a couple components to it. So I'm involved with youth engagement within the industry. There's a lot of data that suggests we need more people in trades, and a lot of data that suggests that those decisions are made as young as grade 6. So we're looking at school field trips involving people at an OEAP level, high school co-ops, and just exposing them to landscaping as a skilled trade. It actually is a Red Seal apprenticeship program in Ontario.
Oh, wow.
There is a program at St. Clair College as well for horticulture. It's a 2-year program, and it's phenomenal, but it's full. So it's at capacity at this point. So in my opinion, it's not generating enough landscapers for our market.
Right.
So this will help facilitate that as well. It can be somewhere that people, if they're not apt to go to college, can also get an apprenticeship.
Right.
So yeah, it's a big dream of mine.
That's a huge dream. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a big dream of mine, and we're in the final stages of negotiating the location of it. So.
And I'm surprised that, to be honest, that Ontario, being as big as it is, doesn't already have something like that.
Yeah, they are building one right now in Milton.
Okay.
with Landscape Ontario, but that's a bit of a drive, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
this is a hands-on field, and you need to learn hands-on, and not everybody wants to relocate to GTA,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I grew up in Alberta, and I know that in Alberta there's a lot of that stuff. In Vancouver at UBC, they already have programs like that are pretty big.
Yeah, the programming's fully available. It's just
Yeah.
about having the space for it, right?
Right.
So I am looking at it from a perspective of a few different ways, right? So youth engagement and workforce development, but also for the community as well, right? So it can also be a place where if we facilitate our horticulture therapy sessions, it can also be that. If we didn't come to your location, we'd have a proper space
Right.
for you to come to ours.
Right. That's really cool. What would you say, and you can be as honest as you want to be, what would you say one of your biggest, like, I'd say financial decisions were that worked for you? Was it, obviously you come from a banking world, so you have a lot more insight than the average entrepreneur that, doesn't know what loans are available and what interest is, or, what compound is versus simple interest, those kinds of things. Is there like one decision that you, maybe even at your time at the bank, that you saw that many people were making that were like poor financial decisions, and you knew you wanted to stay away from it from a business standpoint? Like, I know for myself, Jason and I, like when we started, we were like, okay, we're going to scale, we're going to grow, we can train people, this is great. And we put a lot of upfront money to be like, okay, we need this really big space, and we need to be able to have people because everyone's going to come and want to work for us. And so we had like really, really hot, like heavy front end sort of expenses when it was just him and I selling. And it was like, okay, we really need to, like, after a couple of years, we were like, we need to just, let's kind of back up a little bit, slow down a little bit, slow down to go fast, and just say, okay, like what makes us money? Helping people. Okay, well, how do we help more people? Okay, well, if we're always busy training, we can't be out there helping people and doing our job. And so we really had to take a look at it from and be like, okay, like, yeah, a business is around to make money, but at the same time, you can't just be frivolous with what you're making at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So knowing that you come from that banking world and you love numbers and you love the Excel sheet and stuff like that, obviously looking at the numbers once you created them for Plantscape was a good eye opener, and it gave you that confidence. Was there ever a time that you guys were like, maybe we shouldn't do this because of finances, or we shouldn't do that, or you know what, let's take a risk this time and we're going to do it anyways?
Yeah. I did take a risk back in, I think it was 2020. It didn't work out for me. I had to take my licks there. It took me a little while to crawl out of that hole, but I had made the decision. So when I took over in 2017, the snow removal business was a problem for us.
Okay.
In 2017 through to 2020, we'll call it, we were ill-equipped and ill-staffed for the amount of business that we had.
Okay.
So I made the decision, and I made the decision over almost 2 years. It took me to actually jump. I subcontracted all of my snow business out to one of my competitors. It wasn't a business that I enjoyed. We weren't making money at it. It was hard on the staff. It was hard on the equipment. It was very expensive to be in. So I looked at the numbers one way and another. I reached out to a competitor and said, if we signed a non-compete, would you do all of the snow operations for me? And I thought this was going to be a great decision. I thought I was going to be able to park my trucks, lay my guys off, head to Mexico for the winter, and forget about it. And it backfired pretty hard on me, actually.
Really?
I had made that decision, culminated with selling a piece of property, buying an even larger piece of property, getting tangled up in a commercial contract that I'm still in litigation with. So it ended up being almost a trifecta.
Right.
And if there was ever an opportunity for me to have bankrupted my dad's business, it was then.
Really?
So it was a really bad
Yeah.
decision, a really bad decision.
And
I made the decision based on having a margin of 20% between myself and the subcontractor, and assuming that the 20% was going to be enough to carry me through the winter.
okay.
That was what I thought. This was going to be easy. I'm going to have
Right.
no fuel, no salt, no wages, no nothing. We'll just have 20% net margin, and that's it.
Right.
That'll be enough.
Right.
Um,
And so it backfired because just the margin wasn't enough, or
Yeah, the
they didn't do a
yeah.
good job. Like what?
a number of things, right? Clients were still calling and complaining. It wasn't as easy as we kind of thought. We still ended up out a little bit. I still had fixed costs that I thought would go away. Those were all still rolling in. I was trying to move the business from Oldcastle to Amherstburg. There was overhead costs that I underestimated there. So I didn't have the cash flow to cover that. Yeah, it was a trifecta.
Right.
And then when that large commercial project decided to go non-payment, it was even worse.
Right.
So
Okay. And so making that decision then, it obviously took you a long time. I'm a very big believer that sometimes we have to follow our gut.
yeah,
And as a business, was your gut saying do it, don't do it? Was your brain were you more emotionally making that decision from emotion because it was going to be easier and simpler
no, I
versus
think I
the
was
hard
making,
work that was going to have to come?
I really thought I had the numbers right.
Yeah.
I really did. And maybe I would have had the other two pieces not
Right.
fallen apart.
Right.
But again, it was the culmination of those three things that happened all within 2 months
Right.
that I just thought, what did I just do?
Right.
So yeah, I was glad we weren't overextended on equipment or other things. I was able to move some things around.
Yeah.
I was able to sell some equipment. I was able to call the bank. I was able to kind of refinance a piece of property that I had to kind of get us through. I rallied the team.
Yeah.
I was honest with them. I'm an open book manager, so my staff know exactly where we're at all times.
Yeah.
I have a whiteboard in my office that says exactly where our sales are and where our profit is.
Yeah.
I'm transparent with it. So I was transparent then too.
Right.
And I have a phenomenal team. I can't say enough about them. So they pulled us out and we turned everything around in 8 months.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that just from the team getting to work, going to the work.
And we watched every project, every job, every dollar that came in and every dollar that went out.
Yeah.
And I had vendors call me afterwards and say, we dealt with your dad for so long. Like if you would have just called us and told us you needed longer terms, we would have worked with you. I said, I didn't need you to. It's all good.
Right. And was that the ego side of you, or you just didn't even want to do it anyways? You didn't want to ask?
I would have if I had to. I would have had it if I had to. I'm going to say it was the team. I was in that moment, I was fueled by my team.
Right. I mean, I've never been involved in a business that has payment terms of any kind.
Yeah.
I came out of university. I was still swimming. I got involved in financial services, and I've been doing it for 15 years. I've had some odd jobs here and there, but it's never been, do a job and wait for it to get paid.
Yeah.
Financial services is a little bit like that. You got to wait for money to transfer and insurance policies to be approved. But I'm not waiting for someone else to pay me when they feel like they want to pay me.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you say that. So not funny, I guess. So I have a friend of mine. He does, I want to say drilling of some kind.
Okay.
Post drillings. I don't even understand his business. We grew up together. He lives in London, and he called me the other day, and we were having this cool conversation because he's like, I love the job. I've been doing it for 12 years. I can't find people that love it as much as I do, so they're always asking for raises because they think that we're underpaid and all that kind of stuff. But he goes, he says to me, and my jaw dropped. He goes, I have, he's a single one crew person. I think he's got maybe 2 staff that work with him. And he's like, I have $350,000 of outstanding billables, but the companies they pay me when they want to pay me. Some of them are over 90 days. Some of them aren't. And he's like, and I'm like, well, why don't you go tell them that you're not doing any more work until they pay you? And he's like, they'll just give jobs to someone else.
100%.
So how do you, for people in an industry like yours,
Mhm.
because there are lots of them,
Mhm.
what kind of advice would you give to those guys who are starting up that have those, payment term type stuff when it comes to negotiating things like that? Or do they just need to make sure that they always have cash reserves? Do they have to always make sure that they have available credit? Like, what kind of advice would you give to somebody that's in a situation like that?
So a couple things. The banker in me is going to come out, and yeah, you definitely want to talk to your bank when you're in a positive situation, right? So when your receivables are high and your payables are low, and all your taxes are filed and business is booming, that's when you go to the bank, not when you're in trouble, right? You need to have those operating lines of credit, equipment lines of credit. Don't pay cash for everything. It's okay to borrow, especially if it's something that's revenue generating. So
Right.
that was something I had to kind of maybe learn and take my banker hat off a bit, right? Because I was a bit debt adverse when I first took over, and then I had to realize, well, no, this $100,000 piece of equipment is going to make X dollars per day or per
Right.
month or whatever,
And I'm only paying
and
X
the
interest
ROI
and
on
whatever.
it
Right.
is so it doesn't make sense for me to burn all my cash to pay for this piece of equipment.
Right.
I'll use payments for it, and we were growing at a click that I couldn't even keep up with.
Right.
So yeah, definitely go to your bank when things are good, not when they're bad. I
Right.
mean, go when they're bad, of course, but you're
You're more likely.
going to get the keys to the vault when business is booming and when your
Right.
receivable list is high, right?
Right.
And then I guess the other piece is just build good relationships. That's, I do have a subset of clients that, I mean, maybe, they're more corporate up in Toronto, and the account manager changes from time to time. So it's hard to build relationships with some, but I also have some great contractors that I do commercial work for. I know really well. And, when the invoice is 45 days old, I can send a quick text message or an email,
Right.
just looking for an update. The other piece is I do have, there's obviously laws in Ontario. So
Yep.
my office manager, when we do a large commercial project, she does start a countdown so that we can maintain our lien rights. So that was a lesson I had to learn was I did have a contractor telling me, yep, we'll pay you. Yep, we'll pay you. Yep, as soon as we get paid, we'll pay you. Yep. And it was 5 days after my lien rights expired
Right.
that they told me they weren't going to pay me. And they had no money to pay me, and there's no way to get me money to be paid. So yeah, the lien rights in Ontario are pretty black and white. So we learned that lesson.
Yeah.
And now when we send a large invoice, we start a bit of a countdown in the office.
Right.
And she'll check up on the invoice. She'll send an email just making sure you've received it. We're not asking for payment. We just want to make sure you've received the invoice.
Right.
So you can get an acknowledgement. It's been received.
Yeah.
It's processed. It's in the works. And
Right.
I'll always tell my other clients, like, to me, as long as you communicate with me and tell me what's happening and
Right.
where it's going, we can maintain a good
Right.
relationship.
And so, again, obviously, I'm not involved in businesses like yours. Lien rights, obviously, being people not paying. What are those laws in Canada? Like, just for my
So
own.
they vary by province, from what I've been told,
Okay.
but it's 60 days from the last day you did work, not the day you invoiced, right? So
Oh,
there's some tricky stuff in that language there.
interesting.
So, yeah.
And so 60 days from the last time you did work,
On
you
the same.
have
Lien rights. So I can
Meaning-
lien the property
Okay.
for non-payment. Yeah.
got it.
Which means
And after 60 days, then you can't.
I think there's some opportunities. I'm not
Right.
totally familiar with all.
Obviously, you don't
rely
want
on
to
my-
get in that position,
yeah,
but
I try not to,
Right.
but I have a legal team behind me that,
Right.
I'll send them off a quick email and just say, we're 10 days, like,
What should we do?
What should we do?
Right.
And sometimes just a letter from a lawyer will do the trick,
Right.
To keep communication flowing. But
Right.
yeah, so I've been lucky. In 11 years, I've only had to do it once.
Mhm.
But
That's good.
again, I just think it's based on relationship and having
Yeah.
good communication,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of times there's a reason somebody's not paying you, right? So
Right.
just, again, communication.
Right. Okay. So now that I asked you the question about maybe, let's say, one of the worst decisions you've made,
Yeah.
what would you say is the best decision you've made and why?
Interesting.
Is there one decision that stands out that had a bigger rate of return than others, or maybe in the moment
I didn't think this would be a plug for Landscape Ontario, but I'm gonna say Landscape Ontario.
Really?
Yeah.
From a mentorship side of things, of connecting with
Kinda
people
just
that are already
everything.
doing
So,
it? Or?
yeah, I remember like when I was at the bank, I was a branch manager as my last position there. And there at the time there were 15 branches. So, if you're struggling with something, there's 14 colleagues that run the same type of business that are 4 kilometers down the road. You can pick up the phone and say, I'm struggling with this, that, or the other, trying to drive this metric, or, I'm trying to develop this staff member, whatever it is. You had a sounding board out there. I felt very alone for the first couple of years at the helm. I wasn't an open book manager at the time, right? So I didn't know how to go and tell my team, like, struggling with making this decision. So, like, let's all come together here. I didn't have that in me. So when I joined Landscape Ontario, I joined on the premise that I was going to take a couple classes and learn about plants and shrubs. And what ended up happening was life-changing. I have friends that I'll have for life now across the province. And when I'm struggling with something in my business, I can call Lindsay in Ottawa, or I can call Blake up in Toronto, and they have similar businesses. They're not my competitors. And I can just say, this is what I'm doing. Like, how would you handle it? Or, here's a sample of my contract, or, I've never done this type of service before. How can you help me price it? I've got all kinds of people that are just on speed dial for me that it's been unbelievable. What I've learned, the people I've met, what I've received has far outweighed what I could ever give back to that organization.
Yeah. And I would agree because, so we interviewed Don Livermore, the master blender at Hiram Walker. And one of the things he said, which I loved, was, he created this infrared technology that allowed him to, do the fermenting process faster. And he's like, if I could go back, I would actually share that sooner, because he kept it for himself and it was kind of more of an ego thing. And I've created this thing and look at me. But once he shared it, people were able to actually make it better and tweak it and do things. And I think a lot of people can learn from that, because whether it's joining an association like yours, whether it's, joining the Chamber of Commerce, whether it's whatever, all of us are just trying to run a business, or we have an avenue that we love, and it's okay to ask for help, right? Just because someone, even if they are your competitor, sometimes the business owner understands what you're going through, and they're perfectly fine with you saying, what would you do in my situation with this thing that's going on?
It's happened here in Windsor, actually. And I'll go on record by saying that there's 20 landscapers, maybe more, 50 landscapers in Windsor. I'm not the landscaper for everybody, but I guarantee you there is one out there. And there's enough business for all of us, and that's why we're all still in business.
Right.
And Lakeshore Landscaping called me up and he said, I got called for this project, and it's not really in our wheelhouse, but I know it's in yours, and I'd like to hand it off to you.
Right.
I never won the project, but it's stuff like that really, when you start to think about an association and how it's working for the betterment of the industry and the community, that's the example, right? Where this isn't in my wheelhouse, but it's yours. So no promises, and he didn't make me any promises. He just said, I'll give you an introduction.
Right.
And he did. I met with the lady that
your choice to
afternoon.
win the business if you can.
I'll price it according to our pricing model and how we were going to approach that project. And it went to somebody else, and that's fine. It's still, I drive by it, it's still beautiful.
Yeah, and it's amazing to just be a part of the organizations, the communities, because we are really, truly all just wanting to help each other, right?
I can't do every job even if I wanted to. So there's no sense in me sitting here telling you that, everyone should call Plantscape. I mean, I hope everyone calls Plantscape, but at the end of the day, we all have limitations too, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah, 100%. Is there anything that you think you would do differently outside of that one decision that you made that just, again, you might have had the numbers right, and maybe it was just the 3 things all coming together? But if you went back and you started back in, 2015, 2016, when you took your sabbatical there from the bank, is there anything that you would change if you could have the opportunity to go back?
No.
No? That's good.
No.
No regrets.
No regrets. Yeah,
Okay.
I think I made all of the decisions in the moment with the information I had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I jumped, sometimes I thought it through,
Mm-hmm.
but there's lessons in all of it. And I'm where I am today because of the good decisions and the bad.
I 100% agree. It's
So-
I don't know. I don't know if I don't know the exact quote. And people always laugh when I say this, but in the movie Wedding Crashers, obviously super funny movie,
Yeah.
right? But I always quote this because it's not even part of the funny part, but near the end when Rachel McAdams' character is trying to decide, her and Christopher Walken are sitting in that little market, and he says, you know, the only thing you can do is make the best decision you have with the information that you have at hand. That's all you can do.
That's all you can do.
You're right. If you don't know something, you don't know it. So how are you supposed to make a decision if you don't know something?
Yeah.
Right. So
Hindsight's 2020.
I 100% agree. We are where we are because of good and bad decisions, whether personal, business, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Those things are all learning moments, and the learning moments are what makes the successful things happen.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. Final question.
Okay.
We always ask our guest, what does success mean to Liana?
Oh, wow. That's a deep one. Hey, okay. This started out for me as my dad's legacy. And I thought for a while that as long as I made him proud, you know, that's all that would matter. And then over time, I started to lose myself a little bit in that thought because I thought, well, one day he's going to go, and I'm still going to be here. So this can't be
no one else to make proud.
My only
if he's,
purpose, right? It just can't be the only reason I do this every day. And then through that journey where, you know, I focused on culture and HR, I found a new sense of purpose in the difference that I think I can make in youth and in training them and showing them this trade.
Right.
My staff taught me just as much as I think I've taught them. But yeah, for me, it's about, I would say success will be something in and around giving back with that training center. So that'll be the win for me.
That'll be the win. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you very much for the conversation.
Yeah,
it's been a good hour listening to your story and taking some tidbits away, even for myself. That's another episode of Cracking the Success Vault. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, you can find us on all of your streaming stuff, whether it's Apple, whether it's Spotify, YouTube. Liana, thank you very much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.